All right. Has anybody heard from Tom? No.
Hey, Myra, sorry, I was trying to text him right now. He's not responding, so I don't know, maybe wait one more minute. Usually he's pretty prompt. Certainly saw him this afternoon, didn't indicate he would be late.
Okay.
Same here, no indication he would be late today.
Yeah. Oh, there he is. All right, we have everybody. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Good evening, everybody. This is the January 4th regular city council meeting of the city of Woodland. Right, please note that tonight's meeting will be conducted via teleconference pursuant Government Code Section 54953, which allows the city to hold virtual meetings during a proclaimed state of emergency. And we welcome the public's participation and input. And there's a variety of ways that you can do so when they're all outlined on the agenda. Okay, all right. So, and that was call to order the meeting. Sorry, I skipped over that part. So I'm calling the regular meeting to order, and I think we're ready to call the roll. Anna?
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Fernandez?
Present.
Councilmember Garcia Cadena?
Present.
Councilmember Landsberg?
Present.
Councilmember Stallard?
Present.
Mayor Vega?
Present.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Madam Clerk, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight?
Yes, thank you. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
You're welcome.
Okay, so now we're gonna have public comment. So Madam Clerk, is there any member of the public who wishes to submit public comment via email or on the Zoom meeting now? You're on mute.
No one raising their hand. We do have the usual speed limit removal email, and I'll go ahead and note that in the minutes. And I don't know, Jay, we have a voicemail. Is that related to this meeting?
No, it is not.
Okay. All right, so now we'll move on to communications from my council colleagues. So this time I'm gonna ask Councilwoman Garcia Cadena. Would you like to go first?
Thank you, Mayor Vega. I just wanted to let all the people know who are out there working all of our testing sites. I understand that there's long lines. It's been very busy. I want them to know how much we appreciate what they're doing. Making sure that more of our community members are tested and that people are feeling safe is very important. So I just wanted to put that out there, as well as thanking all of our medical personnel who have been working so hard over this period, and then wish everyone a happy new year.
Thank you. Councilmember Landsberg.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm still mostly home recuperating from my surgery, but I do want to take the time to wish everyone a very happy new year. I look forward to working with my colleagues and city staff and our residents so that we can make 2022 the best year ever. Remember that even though we were not able to hold the 150th celebration in 2021, we're still forging ahead to have the 150th celebration in April of 2022. More details to come. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councilmember Landsberg, I imagined you on the slopes when I saw that snowfall, and I figured you were ready to go. Right.
Not even one flake has hit my head.
Councilmember Stallard.
Thank you, Mayor Bickett and colleagues. Happy New Year to everybody. It's great to be back. It was a wonderful holiday season. I've already thanked all the people in the community that added so much to our enjoyment, but it really was wonderful. And as we go into this wonderful new year, I do feel hope is in the air in spite of all the challenges we seem to be facing. When I talk to people, they feel very hopeful. Because it's been the holiday season, we haven't had significant public meetings, and so I have nothing else to report. But I did have a quote I ran into in a book I'm reading on President James A. Garfield, a man who came out of a log cabin, became a professor, well-read, very humble, didn't want to be president, forced to accept the nomination, and tragically assassinated 4 months into office by a mentally ill man. But this is an example of his thinking. It's under the topic, One Nation. There is no horizontal stratification of society in this country like the rocks in the earth that hold one class down below forevermore and let another come to the surface to stay there forever. Our stratification is like the ocean, where every individual drop is free to move, and where from the sternest depths of the mighty deep, any drop may come up to glitter on the highest wave that rolls. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Stellar. It was a great quote. Thank you for sharing. Mayor Pro Tem Fernandez.
Thank you, Mayor Vega. Thank you for Mayor Stellar's quote. I just want to also add a quote as we approach the new year. We're about to celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday in January. So a very touching and important quote for me is that is given by Dr. King is that an injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. So as we approach this new year, I would like us to take that quote to heart and to look at our community, to look at how we serve our residents and how we work with our employees to make sure that we are providing a safe and just working environment for our employees and for our residents. There have been some posts within our community that may have offended some. And so I'd like to take this moment to apologize on behalf of myself because they don't reflect the insensitivity that I believe those posts projected onto our community. So if you are a Woodland employee or a Woodland resident and were offended in any manner by the posts that were posted by the Woodland PD on Instagram, please know that I, Councilmember Fernandez, apologize to you for those insensitive and disrespectful posts that may have offended you. And I would hope that as a community and as a employer that we look at how we address and issues of this type. Whether we want to look at the intent in our training, we have been told the intent is not relevant when it offends. So I'd like us to really examine and take the time to value the opinions of our community when they are addressed to us, and that we take the time to make sure that they no longer offend. This post was made and brought to our attention on Thursday and was not taken down till this morning. So I want to make sure that we as an employer and we as council members make sure that we are aware of those incidents that may offend our community, because it is our goal to work together and to provide a safe and welcoming community. And I think that I just want to reiterate that we need to examine the cultural sensitivity or insensitivity that we may have towards others and be more responsible to how we post things on our social media. So thank you, Mayor Vega. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Fernandez. For myself, I want to wish everybody a happy new year. 2022 is going to be a great year. As Council Member Landsberg alluded to, I'm really looking forward to the rest of the year and working with our community to celebrate the 150th anniversary and also to continue to recover from this pandemic. I also want to say that Mayor Pro Tem's message resonated with me. You know, we are in the times where being on social media is expected. It's the way that many of our residents engage with us. And I think it's something important. But cultural sensitivity is something that has to be very closely respected, right? We have a diverse community. I was reflecting on our strategic goals for the council, and celebrating the diversity of our community is something that we all agreed that we would do. So I just, in engaging in this social space, that we always look and err on the side of caution, to ensure that there's no member of a community or cultures that may take offense, and that whenever something is brought up, that we immediately address it. So thank you for bringing that up, Mayor Pro Tem Fernandez. I also wanted to thank all of the COVID testing employees that are working in all of the different sites. I have seen a frantic kind of outcry from the community trying to get testing, and turnaround testing has been an issue. So I do see some of these employees or volunteers sometimes that are sometimes not being treated nicely. So I would hope that we all take time to recognize that I think everybody's trying their best. And also, as the lines are conforming around the buildings, that we keep our distance and just be respectful of each other. We're all in this together. I also want to just send good wishes to the Woodland Joint Unified School District as they're preparing to return back to school. I see the kids are probably eager to get back. I know mine is, so I'm thankful for all of the work that the school district is doing to get our kids back after a restful break and get them back to their studies. That will be all for me. So, Mr. Manager, are there any communications from you or any comments on the long-range calendar?
Certainly, yeah. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, and certainly good new year. Along that theme, in working with the mayor, put together a kind of a look ahead to 2022. So I'm going to share a screen here, and what I hope to do to sort of help the council sort of anticipate what your calendar will look like over the course of 2022 is quickly walk you through some of the highlights, agenda topics that will show up on your calendar throughout the year, and certainly call attention for the community as well to track these if they're interested. But if you'll indulge me, I just wanted to walk through kind of quarter by quarter what the council and the community can expect in terms of priority agenda topics before them. And I'll start here with the January through March timeframe. At the next meeting on January 18th, we'll have the Woodland Regional Park Preserve Project update. We know this is a project that's been of top interest and been fairly quiet recently, but there's been a lot of work going on, and we'll be presenting to the council sort of an update on that work and a timeline for when we anticipate opening the project in 2022. To the public. We will also be bringing back at the next meeting the Rick Gonzalez Senior Park Master Plan. So that's a follow-on from the conversation that the council had on that topic at the special meeting in December. We'll then lead into February, where we'll have the traditional council goals update. We're working with the council to schedule a retreat. Again, all-day retreat is planned on a Saturday in February, likely the February 12th date. We'll also be bringing back the commercial cannabis ordinance amendment, which the council took up at the end of 2021. So we took direction from council to consider some additional factors, and we'll be bringing back that topic for the council in February. We will also in February be presenting back to council on the new aquatic facility and refinements to the funding plan, and be seeking, should council be willing, authorization to move forward with a design contract for that project. And then as the budget season then sort of launches into full swing, we'll do a mid-year budget update and give the council an update on where we're trending relative to this current year budget, and then a quick glance ahead at what the budget calendar will look like as we move into the March, April, and ultimately into the June adoption timeframe. As council recalls, animal services cost assessment was a topic of interest. We expect to get data back from the county sheriff's office relative to calls for service and costs associated with those calls for service, as well as the cost allocation for providing those services with our partner agencies. And so we look forward to sharing that data with the council and helping inform how we move forward collectively with our partners to provide not only quality animal services to the community, but how we can do that in a more cost-effective and sustainable manner. And then we look forward to finally presenting the Woodland Research and Technology Park specific plan environmental documents at a final hearing in March. So that's a full just first quarter right there for you. And then we'll roll into the second quarter, April through June, where the council will take up the matter of the new council district maps, working with the redistricting commission right now. And they'll have a recommendation before the council before the end of February, early March. Be ready to have council take up that matter in time for the deadline on April 17th. We also look forward to presenting to the council and the community a new logo. So we've made great strides in that process, selected a consultant and assembled a community group to review and work with the consultants on the city to vet different city logo concepts. And we'll be presenting hopefully a final logo to the council in the April timeframe. And then a lot of the next several months will be focused around our budget. We'll launch into the spring budget workshop in April, followed by measures F, J, and R spending plans in May, with an introduction of the proposed budget for the following year in May, second meeting, and then finally the budget adoption in June. In addition, in all that, we'll be bringing back the tree ordinance, which the council took up in December. So we'll bring those modifications back on the ordinance to the council in April. And then we're also working on annexation and tax sharing agreements with 4 properties that are currently adjacent to Woodland in our sphere of influence. And we're moving forward with annexation of those properties. And as part of that process, we're negotiating tax sharing agreements with the county. And then also of note here during this time frame, staff anticipates presenting the Matmore and Gum Road rehabilitation plans and seek council authorization to bid those in the June time frame. And then we'll be coming back for bid award in the summertime as well. And then summer starts to get a little bit lighter, but we will be presenting to the council upon completion the youth master plan that we've been developing and working with in partnership with our school district partners. So we look forward to presenting the final phase of that work, which we're excited to present to the community and the council, which will then help inform where we go forward relative to our role in supporting youth within the community through our programs. We also will present microtransit implementation. So microtransit project is one where in partnership with Yolo County Transportation District, we are developing an RFP right now, and ultimately we'll bring back in July timeframe a proposal to have a service provider deliver microtransit in our community, which is simply a phrase for on-demand shuttle service, which will significantly change the way that we provide public transit within Woodland and not rely solely on the fixed route bus transit service with YCTD, but add into that and replace to some degree some of these fixed route internal bus routes with a microtransit program. So excited about that. It's proved very beneficial throughout communities that have made this transition, and we think it's going to be a great fit for Woodland. We'll then go through a summer recess in late July to mid-August and come back with adoption of the comprehensive zoning ordinance, which again is a follow-on of our general plan update back in 2017 with a as the title describes, a very comprehensive update to the development standards for our community that will touch every single zoning district throughout the city. So a lot of work finally coming to culmination with that project. And then we'll round out the year with the last quarter with the fire department strategic plan update in October. We will be back to the council after development of plans and specifications for the new aquatic facility with authorization to move forward with bidding that project and final funding allocation based on that, the bid estimate. We will have a quarterly budget update as tradition has it in November to continue to sort of maintain a pulse on how we're trending on the budget. And then with the council elections coming up this November, we will have a council reorganization and seating of new elected council members in December. So as you can see, a pretty full year ahead of us, but a lot of exciting topics, I think, for the council to work through and bring forward to the community. And kind of along that theme as well, not necessarily agenda topics per se, but work that has come through the council or in some measure will come through the council this year and actually come to fruition. I just wanted to highlight some of the key things that we can look forward to celebrate as a council and a community this year that the city is largely responsible for. And again, kind of walk through these quickly in categories. First, in the transportation category, we all are enduring roadway project disruption. And by the end of this year, we'll have East Main Street road rehabilitation as well as Gibson Road rehabilitation completed. So we'll have that work behind us, and we'll then move into bid award for Matt Moore and Gum, potentially even initiate that work on Matt Moore and Gum. We'll celebrate the completion of the bike and pedestrian overcrossing over 113. That's on schedule to be completed before the end of the year. So look forward to that ribbon cutting. And then we'll, of course, launch the micro transit service before the end of the year. On the economic development front, it's been fairly quiet recently, largely with the pandemic and a lot of uncertainty, but with some conversations recently at the end of the year, we're very optimistic that we'll see a lot of hard work that's been put in place also come to fruition. The new Ford dealership will start construction hopefully in the first quarter of 2022 out next to Woodland Motors. We'll see 4 new hotels break ground next year, including the downtown hotel across from the court. We'll also have new retail out of the Gateway Shopping Center, which is currently under construction, completed. I think council may have seen the announcement that Sprouts grocery store has chosen a location in Woodlands. We'll be breaking ground on that Sprouts grocery store. And the current schedule anticipates having that store actually open before the end of the year. And then lastly, the lab at Ag Start, which is a project that the city in partnership with the county, the tribe, as well as our federal EDA partners, opened up earlier this year with a modest 4,000 square foot space. It is already at capacity with science companies there. We just heard that the lab at Ag Start has secured an expansion space immediately adjacent in the Wiseman building. And so they will be more than doubling the size of that lab before the end of the year. So with literally in 12-month time frame, that project has gone from 5,000 square feet to over 10,000 square feet. So pretty exciting to see, the potential sort of life science industry here in Woodland continue to prosper and grow. And so as we sort of sold with that investment, that just paves the way for the Woodland Research and Technology Park and the need for these companies to find that expansion space. So a critical part of our economic development strategy. On the quality of life category, we will also be looking forward to some very important projects. The Boys and Girls Club project is on pace to open up in September of this year, and I'll be bringing forward to the council MOU here in the first quarter of 2022 to, in partnership with the county, hopefully help support the operation of that new Boys and Girls Club. And then the Spring Lake neighborhood parks, as the council is well aware, are underway. We'll be bidding those projects and starting construction on those. 3 neighborhood park completion projects this year. We will also be, and you'll be learning more later this evening, completing the 61 permanent supportive housing units out next to the shelter. So we'll be able to provide 61 additional housing units for those at risk of homelessness. And then additionally, we'll be breaking ground on a 78-unit multifamily housing project at Ashley and Main Street. There's a developer that secured that site and secured tax credit projects or funding rather to deliver that project. So working with that development interest to get that project positioned to break ground in spring of this year as well. And then it wouldn't be Woodland without celebrating events. And as council has already mentioned this evening, we'll kind of launch into the event season this coming year with the start of the event season launched with 150 celebration on April 9th, followed by the California Honey Festival in May. We'll have a series of car shows coming back this year, as well as a more robust stroll through history, which we're excited about where that's going this year. Also look forward to Dinner on Main maybe coming back in its original format, but potentially also in combination with the Dinner off Main, which was a very successful alternative. And then we'll capstone the year with some parades in partnership with the Chamber and the Festival of Lights Parade, which we had this December. And so we're already setting in motion an expansion of that holiday experience. So look forward to lots of positive news and activities this year, and just wanted to share that with the council and the community that there is a lot of hope and optimism in the air for 2022. And I think we're well positioned to really have a great year. I will close just with a few additional remarks. Certainly, as everybody is aware that on the COVID pandemic front, the Omicron variant is starting to spread rapidly throughout the country and the county. We anticipate being issued as early as today, if not tomorrow, from the county, a new health order that will provide some clarified, hopefully, guidance that's in line with California Department of Health relative to not just masking and testing, but quarantining and isolation relative to exposures and whatnot. So staff is watching that very closely, and we will be spreading that information quickly throughout the community once it's released. And I look forward to any questions or whatnot from the council relative to that. But the topic of testing has already been noted this evening is of much importance. And as the council recalls, at the last meeting in December, you authorized us to enter into an MOU with Healthy YOLO together to continue the testing at the Norton Hall facility with funding from the ARP funds. So we are finalizing the agreement with Healthy YOLO together as we speak, and we'll be in a position to extend that testing program past the current deadline, which is January 16th, when that is currently scheduled to close down. But confident we'll reach agreement and get that testing program extended through the balance of January and into February. And then lastly, I too wanted to address Councilmember Fernandez's remarks relative to the social media post and some of the concerns that community members had relative to the cultural insensitivity that came across in that. And I just want to assure the community and the council that we'll take that very seriously. I've had conversations with the department and the chief around how we can be better and avoid these types of situations. So I just want to assure the council and the community that we too sort of share the apology and feel that we are responsible for any offense that may have been taken, and we'll be working with staff to ensure that we put measures in place to prevent this from happening again. So that concludes my remarks this evening. I'll give it back to you, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hyatt. Appreciate that. Thanks for giving us an overview of what we have to look forward to the year. It's a great way to start off the year, first council meeting. Thank you. And now we're going to go to item F, which is presentations. Did I get that correct? We're going to go to consent calendar first.
Yeah, I believe that's correct. We'll go to presentations, and that'll be Public Works Director Craig Locke. For the council's request and my suggestion, I would like to present to the council some of the good work that Public Works which is always behind the scenes, ensuring that our water is flowing every time we turn on the faucet, toilets flush and properly end up at the wastewater treatment plants. Our storm drain systems are clear when we get heavy rains and lots of debris, and the list goes on and on. So thought it'd be appropriate for Craig to, highlight some of the great work that our public works staff do day in and day out that get very little recognition for. So look forward to having Craig present to the council and welcome any feedback the council has on ways that we can continue to improve our service through public works.
Yeah, great. All right, Mr. Locke.
All right. Well, good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. I thank you for this opportunity to explain a little bit more detail the status report that Public Works provides for you quarterly. Public Works is very much a data-driven division, and sometimes, it's hard to assign meaning to some of the numbers that we present without some context. So during the next 90 minutes or so, I'll try to provide that context. That's a joke. Yeah. Public Works really isn't that funny. So the first section of the report really details the number of work orders and the call volume that we receive on a quarterly basis. And that kind of gives some indication of the volume of on-call work we're doing. With the report that we provide, you see a seasonal shift. You get a sense of that by comparing the quarterly numbers with the cumulative total. But one of the things that I like to do is compare some of the metrics of previous years, and we can see trends within the department. One of the things that isn't too surprising is that there's been a decline in the number of work orders that have been processed since COVID. And just a couple numbers, in 2018, we were averaging 30 work order requests a day. In 19, it was 31. In 2020, it dropped to 13. So now we're back up to about 17 work orders requests a day. But we're able to use that because of the reduction in call requests. We're able to be more proactive with working on preventative maintenance. Most of the divisions have caught up with, and in many cases exceeded, our preventative maintenance schedules. In some degree, this is tempered by the staffing challenges which have plagued all the divisions. And it's not just filling positions, but also the positions, the people that we have within the division are often off. We have a lot more absentees due to health issues and split shifts and all the things that COVID has brought with it. Couple of items in the fleet section that are of note. Woodland continues to move forward towards a more sustainable fleet, and we're doing that in advance of state goals. The California Air Resources Board has targeted 5 million zero-emission vehicles by 2030, and Public Works continues to monitor the state and local incentive programs designed to meet that goal. We're also assisted by CDD and environmental services in that effort. This quarter, the city received $200,000 in rebates from last year's purchase of 2 fully electric work trucks. These are the first in the region. And the city fleet also includes 11 hybrid and electric vehicles in addition to these 2 work trucks. The new car shortage and extended delivery times has prompted Public Works staff to start looking at alternate procurement processes. Police interceptors have 6 to 8 month lead time, and the city will need to purchase over a dozen of these vehicles in the next 18 months. So we're looking at ways also to reduce the annual cost of the city vehicles, primarily by reducing the upfit costs, also by increasing the residual value at the end of the vehicle life when we go to sell that car at auction or dispose of it in other ways. On the facilities side, staff has developed a master plan for implementing a number of high-ticket deferred maintenance items. And these are mechanical systems like HVACs, roofing projects, and a lot of these projects now offer the opportunity to include advanced materials and more durable, economical, and sustainable made methods of construction. We're looking at that, and that's one of the things that's kind of exciting about what the future offers in facilities repair. Over the last few quarters, facilities have been shorthanded due to the retirement of key personnel. This last quarter, we brought someone new on board, and he's learning all the idiosyncrasies of the buildings throughout the city. The right-of-way division has also been short-staffed through much of the pandemic. A lot of that's due to retirement, and also staff has moved from right-of-way into other divisions, water and sewer. So still keep staying within the system. Obviously, right-of-way retains the pavement, the signage, the markings, the sidewalks, all the facilities within the right-of-way. But much of their time is also spent as first responders for illegal dumping. And that role has been expanded with assisting the cleanup after homelessness and removing blight. Because Public Works has such a well-developed GIS and work order systems, we've leveraged that, becoming the sort of clearinghouse for information about various blight issues and their remedies. We have GIS interns that are out entering the city's infrastructure into the database, but they also gather out data about blight, and they help the direct crews to remedy that blight, shopping carts and things of that sort. The right-of-way division also improves the city's mobility by addressing trip hazards and sidewalk problems. The sidewalk funding is very limited, so we prioritize those problems based on severity, foot traffic, cost to repair, and that way we achieve the maximum return on investment for the $50,000 to $100,000 that we put into that program every year. The streets group has also begun skin patching in addition to individual pothole filling, and you may have noticed some of that on Matmore earlier this year. But we've also put down about 20,000 square foot of skin patch in a variety of locations, including on College. The electrical division is supporting a lot of the city departments that you don't necessarily think of. They support CDD by providing specialized inspection, code and law enforcement by installing cameras. They support facilities, replacing antiquated fluorescent light with energy efficient LEDs. And they do a lot of other projects supporting the utilities and other divisions within Public Works. Sewer collections is especially busy this time of year. This quarterly report shows the collections progress towards the preventive maintenance goals. And one of the things that it shows too is that the investment the city has made in new equipment is really making a difference in our ability to meet these preventive maintenance goals. In 2019, we did 49,000 feet of mainline cleaning and inspection. That dropped to 32.5 during 2020, in part due to COVID and shift splits. But last quarter, we had cumulatively over the course of the last year cleaned over 100,000 feet of mainline pipe, which is pretty impressive. Collections also responds to emergencies, mostly sanitary sewer clogs and overflows. But this time of year, we do a lot of storm response. And during a storm, all the Public Works divisions will work together to patrol the city and remove blockages and down limbs. I wanted to highlight that during the October storms, a number of our employees worked 12 hours on Sunday before beginning their normal work week. The storm was amazing. It allowed staff the opportunity to test the new pump station, which, although it was constructed last year, we haven't had enough water to put it into practice. So that was kind of neat. There was actually at one point during the storm, we had all 5 pumps, both the primaries and the backup, going at once and moving all the rain that fell within the cities. That the intensity of that storm was something like a 200-year return period. But in addition to testing our pumps, it allowed us to see where we could make improvements into the pond inlets. And the ponds can be used to provide emergency storage to kind of attenuate the peaks in the rain flow. When it's really coming down and we can't move all the water out of the city through the pumps, we can offload it into the ponds for later removal. It's important to remember that every drop of rain that falls in Woodland must be pumped out. So the storm drain outfall reconstruction project that's coming up this year is going to be critical to embark on. Another thing we'll be bringing back to the council shortly is a funding request for a generator at the storm drain pump station. The existing generator is on its last legs. In fact, we rented a generator for the October storm just to make certain that if we had an electrical outage, the town would be safe. Currently, the electrical status of that installation is being analyzed, and the replacement generator requirements are being investigated. And when we have some answers, we'll bring that to you, obviously. One last interesting part about that storm, when the rain comes down, the streets flood. Some water always makes it into the sanitary sewer system rather than the storm drain system. But when it gets particularly bad, as it did in October, Public Works crews will sometimes open up the lids to the sanitary sewer system and let the water drain off that water into the sanitary sewer system to provide an extra channel for unflooding the roadway. So during the week prior to the storm, the wastewater pollution control facility was receiving about 3.8 million gallons a day in sewage flow. During that storm, the rate increased to 20 million gallons a day. It's a five-fold increase. And if you ever been to the headworks, instead of having just one screw pump turning, we had three. So 3 of the 4. So it's pretty impressive. The potable water division, after a summer of Term 91 water restrictions, which caused the city to rely on groundwater in part, the water division has been able to recharge the aquifer with 4.5 million gallons a day all quarter long through the ASR wells. The water division preventive maintenance objectives were met early in the quarter for the year. And that's something that very few water purveyors can say. The PM program in Woodland has a positive impact on the city's ISO rating. And by extension, that means lower fire insurance costs for the residents of the town. What we see also in this quarterly report is that this is, in fact, water main break season. The city has an annual total of about 75 water main breaks. So getting 29 in the last quarter of the year is about right. 60 to 70% of those water main breaks are the 2-inch back of walk mains, which we are in the process of replacing throughout the city. But the rest are the big mains. In fact, we had a really nice big 6-inch main break on Christmas morning near Pendergrass and 2nd. It was controlled, and we're moving on into the next quarter. The water pollution control facility sewage treatment plant continues to process sewage without incidents. Council recently approved a 7-year contract for the replacement of the UV lamps and the associated parts. And those repairs are affected by the city staff at the water pollution control facility. One of the aeration ditches had a diffuser failure in the late summer, and we were able to look at that in this last quarter. And when we replaced the diffuser that had failed, we also pulled a couple of other diffusers at random throughout the array, sent them back to the factory, and they're undergoing materials testing to make sure that we aren't going to have similar problems in the future. If so, we'll have to address a preventive maintenance program to proactively replace those. So that really concludes my quarterly report. I see I'm about an hour and 20 minutes early. So if you have any questions, I'm here for you.
Thank you, Ms. Hairlock. I appreciate the thorough overview, and I just wanted to say thank you, and I'll open it up to my colleagues. I think Mayor Pro Tem Fernandez, you had a question?
Yes, well, thank you, Mayor Vega. Craig, I just want to thank you for making sure we're all awake and listening with your opening comment. And I want you to thank your staff for the tremendous amount of work that they've had to undergo with the storm that we had in October and rain that we finally are getting in Woodland and the Valley. So thank them on our behalf for the fine work that they're doing, and thank you for managing it all.
I'll pass it along. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilmember Stallard, I see your hand raised.
Thank you, Mayor Vega. Craig, that was a wonderful report. I enjoyed reading the written report and to hear what you had to say tonight. They truly are unsung heroes, the people that work below the streets, sometimes in the alleys, anywhere and everywhere necessary to keep our city functioning. And as I think Ken said at the outset about keeping the water running, that was a distressed call I received on Christmas Day that the people on Pendergrass for a whole block or a second were without water. And the fact that 5 of your team got out there for several hours to restore water to those folks so that they could prepare their Christmas dinners. That's just the kind of thing they do, and God bless them. We all couldn't be more grateful. I wanted to take a slight issue with one comment you made, and I'm not sure you actually meant it as it was stated, that every drop that falls has to be evacuated from the city. I think it'd be great for us to do everything we can to harness whatever falls that we could keep and replenish our own aquifer within our city, and be looking for new strategies to help us do it. Porous pavings, for example, and in parking areas and things like that. I think it'd be great if our city was open to a particular project to encourage that and perhaps expand that over time. That's my feedback. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, and I did misspeak because we definitely do that with our detention ponds. In addition to attenuating the peak flow, they also provide an opportunity for percolation and replenishment of the aquifer. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Locke? No?
Keep it up.
All right. Yes, Craig, keep it up to all the women and men that work on your team. Thank them again. Their holidays, nights, weekends, doesn't matter. And that we really appreciate it and thank them for all the work they do. But just one question for the community. If they want to report something that's going on in their street, or how do they submit a work order or a call for service?
Well, probably the best thing is just to call the Public Works main number during business hours, unless it's an emergency. We triage those and send them out. Those are the calls for service that I talked about initially. And we get those taken care of. If there's a pothole report or almost anything that comes in, we pretty much have a 24-hour turnaround, if not faster.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so then, Mr. City Manager, question for you. You know, I really like the Citizen Reporter tool, and I actively promote that. So if, should residents use that in lieu of the non-emergency number? What's a way to streamline these requests just to make sure that they're tracked and addressed as soon as possible?
Right. Yeah, I was going to promote the My Citizen Reporter tool, which continues to gain more and more traction as a primary resource for folks to submit issue requests to the city. So, you know, either method is perfectly appropriate. They all end up in the same work order system. Craig and his team do a great job, you know, integrating both of those platforms. So, honestly, whatever's easier for citizens. The power of the My Citizen reporting tool is it does have a platform where they can get a response acknowledging that their issue has been received, and they can track kind of the status of that. So that is the benefit of using that tool over simply making a phone call. But you know, we recognize, you know, people are used to using the phone as a way to contact folks, so we don't want to get rid of that altogether. So.
Okay, thank you. Yes, and something that the community should know is that there's a big monitor outside of Mr. Hyatt's office that shows all of the reports that come through the Citizen Reporter and shows the aging. So, you know, that there is visibility towards that. But thank you for that clarification. And Mr. Locke, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I think we're ready to, were you going to say something else?
No, thank you.
All right. Thank you. We'll see you. We'll see you soon. Okay.
All right. Another quarter.
Another quarter. All right. So then now that brings us back to item G, the consent calendar, which includes items number 3 through 5 on our agenda. Right. And I'll see if any of my colleagues have any items they would like to remove for further discussion. No, don't see any. All right. Madam Clerk, are there any public comments on items on the consent? No? You were on mute. I think that's a no. Okay.
Sorry, no public comment. No.
Okay. All right. And no hands raised?
Actually, there is one.
Okay. Oh, there. Sorry. Your hand blended in with your background. All right. Go ahead, Councilor Landsberg.
Regarding the water and sewer rates, I want to acknowledge the residents who personally contacted me and delivered their objections to the rate raises that are going to take place over the next several years. I do acknowledge those requests and their objections, but you know, we do what we have to do to move the city along for the betterment of the entire community. But I do understand the frustrations when it comes to rate raising for anything, whether it's gas prices or electricity. We just went up 8% this month. I understand that, but you know, you got to keep moving. That's the problem. That's the bottom line. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilmember Landsberg. Okay. All right. So is there anybody would like to make a motion to? Is that Mayor Pro Tem Fernandez motion or a question?
Yeah, a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll tell her.
Okay. All right, so motion by Mayor Pro Tem Fernandez and a second by Councilmember Landsberg. Okay, all right, so no further discussion? Okay, seeing none. Madam Clerk, will you please take the vote by roll call?
Yes, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Fernandez,
Aye.
Councilmember Garcia Cadena,
Aye.
Councilmember Landsberg,
Aye.
Councilmember Stallard,
Aye.
Mayor Vega.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, so now on to item H. Item number 6 is the East Beamer Way campus update and additional appropriation for permanent supportive housing project phase 2 site infrastructure. So, Mr. Hyatt, are you gonna?
Yeah, happy to do a quick introduction, and then I'm going to hand it over to Brent Meyer, Community Development Director, followed by a presentation from representatives from Friends of the Mission, our project partners, as well as Doug Zeck with Fourth and Hope, who operates the shelter out there. And what would normally be just another consent item on your calendar, requesting additional funding appropriation for the project. Didn't want to miss the opportunity to get the council up to speed on where we are with this project. It's, as you know, a multi-phase project. There's been a lot of work and continued effort going into the next phase, and that would be a good opportunity for us to kind of share the status of that. But then also, if you recall, we opened up the new shelter just about a year ago out at its new location there. And we now have a year behind us of operation of the new shelter. And also thought it might be good to provide the community and the council an update on kind of what we've learned over the past year with the new shelter, some of the positives and the surprises that were good outcomes, but also some of the challenges that we continue to work through with our project partners out there. And so that'd be great to have board member Janet Ruggiero from Friends of the Mission and Doug Zeck with Fourth and Hope share with the council kind of where we're at on these topics, and provide an opportunity for you guys to directly communicate and ask questions of them, and hopefully at the end of this presentation, right, have a better grasp on kind of where we're at with the project and where we're heading in the future. So with that, Mr. Meyer, I'll hand it over to you to touch on the first part, which is the budget appropriation request, and then we'll hand it over to our partners.
Hey, good evening, Mayor Vega and council members. I'm Brent Meyer. I'm the Community Development Director with the city. So I'll give my summary and hand it over after that. So a little bit of history on the project. So the shelter, as Ken said, was finished about this time last year and started operation. Then March 16th, we took to council authorization to award the construction of infrastructure work for the permanent supportive housing. So that's the 61 units. So that's the road, underground utilities. So that project is under construction. It started construction June of this last year. We anticipate it'll be finished in a couple months, probably early March. The specific request for council is that we have an additional appropriation of just under $440,000, and then move the contingency authorization up to $835,000, which is an addition of about $500,000. The primary added expenditures is parking lots. So I think as Friends of the Mission will probably talk a little more. There's identified a need for additional parking for both the shelter and the permanent supportive housing sites. And then, so that's new work that was not necessarily anticipated. And then foundation work, we're adding about $400,000 of foundation work. That's work that was thought to be part of the modular homes, but just due to construction phasing, it worked out better to add that to the infrastructure work. So that is the specific approval we have in front of you. And so with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to, I'm not sure if it's Janet or Steve Coyle is talking next.
Doug's going to go first to talk about the mission.
Okay, good.
All right. Well, again, thank you for allowing us to share in the successes we've had and are seeing out at East Beamer Way. It's been a transition year for us, and in this transition, all transitions at times can be difficult. And then with the pandemic folded on top of it, we found it to be challenging in some ways. But with all that, I'm very proud of our team, our shelter team out there. They have been working very hard and diligent through this last year, and we've seen a lot of success. And so I'd like to share with you just a couple slides here that kind of show you some of the changes we've gone through in the last year, and then also some numbers that show some of the success that we've seen.
We lost the presentation. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Can you see it now?
Yeah, looks like it's coming up. Yep.
All right. Now let me see how to forward it here. There we go. The emergency shelter, as you are probably aware, it's the largest emergency shelter within Yolo County. The old mission that we used to operate as a shelter for individuals would house as many as 48 individuals. Yes, it also housed families, sheltered families, but the new shelter is specifically for individuals. So we did increase the amount of beds in the shelter from 48 to 100. Moving out to East Beamer Way, the service is also expanded from being just an overnight shelter where people would come for a hot meal, but then check in at 6 p.m. and then leave again in the morning around 7 a.m. Now they're, unless they have jobs or case plans that they're working on, and even if they do have those things, they can come back and forth throughout the day. So it's a 24/7 program for those that are residing at the shelter. And then in that 24/7 program, there's meals offered to anyone, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, to anyone that has a need for a hot meal, even if they're not staying overnight in the shelter. Our client care team out there, our old model, and I'll talk about our client care team, really has been a resource and referral model. So as clients would come in and out of the shelter, and those neighbors that we were serving, we would refer them to different services in and around the city and the county that would help them get on track. The supervisor there, she was very strong in her case management skills and would also provide case management for them. You'll see in the next slide that we've added a more robust case management program, but we do continue to have our client care team. It's our frontline team that is there to support the day-to-day needs of the clients that are on site. Out at East Beamer Way, and some of the need for the added parking is the need is because there are people that live in the shelter that have vehicles, but we also have partners that are coming out to the shelter throughout the day and throughout the week to provide services, whether it's through the county or health services from Communicare. We've seen Dignity Health individuals out there providing services. The partnership with Healthy Davis, or now Healthy YOLO, they've been using some of the space out there as well to help serve the clients that we are there to care for. So in the added services in the new year, there's two primary additions to what I had already spoke to. I guess one of the additions that I did mention and kind of breezed over is the daytime service did add a lot to what we're doing out there. And so it's become a 24/7 operation. But with that, we've added case management. The behavioral health program that we've added is to help with the growing need of our clients. There's a mental health component that we are able to address. I talked earlier about the resource and referral component. When someone comes in and they have a need and we need to get them set up with IDs or connected to Social Security, whatever those things might be, and we would refer them out, sometimes we lack the ability to help them get traction. This new case management team trained in helping people gain traction, addressing some of the barriers that they may have personally. We're really anticipating it's going to be a great addition, and we'll realize more of the success, I believe, in 2022 as this team came to fruition in August of this past year. The other thing that we added in this last year was transportation. we logged over 11,000 miles in the year with the van that, with help from you, the city of Woodland, the van that we acquired at the beginning of the year. So it's been a full year. We've had over 11,000 miles added to that. On average, there's about 3 trips a day that are scheduled, and then various trips as requested and staffing allows. We will take people to doctor's appointments, other appointments as needed, but 3 times a day we will take about, on average, about 10 individuals to a local bus stop so then they can start connecting with the YOLA Transit that's available here in Woodland. And so that was a new addition in the year as well. And it has been nice to have a van on site so we could move people around as they have need. The outcomes for 2021, and as I was reviewing these with staff this last week, it's interesting because we've seen, even in the midst of a few outbreaks at the shelter where we've had to close the shelter for 10 days, 2 weeks at a time, we still were able to serve 274 people this last year at that shelter at East Beamer Way. Thankfully, we've been able to see 50 of those individuals find some type of permanent supportive housing or other stable housing in that same time frame. 238 people also received services during the day hours. So the 274 people I mentioned earlier, those would be individuals that were accessing our overnight sheltering beds. And then the 238 were people that were accessing the day services, which would be laundry and showers, connecting with case management teams or client care coordinators. And then the one number that is down from what we've traditionally seen is the number of meals served. I believe that's probably a reflection of access. We would serve a lot of meals at the shelter in downtown to people that could easily access that location. And so I believe a year or 2019, prior to the pandemic, we served 102,000 meals that year at that shelter. At the current East Beamer Way shelter, we served 50,000 meals this last year. I don't know that I need to share my screen any longer here. The findings that we had this year, I think the things that we're learning is when we're serving 100 people versus 48 people, it's more than just double the team and double the work. We're finding that each individual has their own unique story, their own unique barriers, and so we've found a need to more heavily staff the location than we had initially anticipated. That has been a challenge for any employer. I think in today's employment market, we have also found it difficult to find individuals to employ. So we have seen impact financially to our staffing budget as we have increased our staffing budget so we could hire appropriately. So serving 100 people 24/7, we have found is more than double serving the 48 people in an overnight shelter. And so it has created a lot of work for us. But we have a team out there that's working really well. We did have our holiday party at the end of the year, and it was just great to see the team working well together and gelling well together, supporting one another. So I would, and I've said this earlier, I'm very proud of the team that we have out there at the shelter. The other thing that we are anxious to see as an organization out at the shelter, and I think I have to hit this point because I think staff would hit it even louder, is we're very anxious to see the second phase of the shelter built out. We do appreciate that we can have the shower trailers and restrooms and the kitchen trailer and the laundry trailer. They're not permanent structures, and we're starting to see that after a year that being that they're not permanent, having something that is more, I'm searching for the word, more durable, I think is kind of what we are anxious to see in the future. And I know there is a plan in the next year or two to have that done. And I know we're anxious to see that and excited to see that. I do anticipate in this upcoming year that we will see a more, I don't like saying a new normal, that term bothers me, but I do think we're going to be able to settle in a little more as an organization, not be pulled in different directions because the transition's behind us. I do think that we've learned to operate in a more stable way during this pandemic, and I think we'll be able to continue to do that. So we're looking forward to 2022. I think somebody mentioned earlier that they're hopeful about this year, and we are as well. We will serve more meals. We will drive more miles. From my seat, the funding landscape will be shifting for operations. We have been able to operate at the benefit. It sounds strange to say this, but we have benefited financially due to the pandemic. Those finances will be sunsetting, and those funding sources. And so we will be looking and are currently looking at the funding landscape and what that looks like coming at the end of this year, heading into 2023. I think that's all I have, unless there's questions for me.
Any questions from my council colleagues? Oh, I see Mayor Pro Tem Fernandez hand raised.
Thank you, Mayor Vega. And thank you, Pastor Zach, for your work and the contributions that you've made to our community through Forth and Hope and the Friends of the Mission who have been crucial in the collaboration with the City of Woodland. So thank you for your service and your dedication to our community. And my question is, as far as donations, is there a website residents can go to or address or phone that you can provide the community if they wish to make donations?
Yeah, I can actually put the screen up. I think the next slide that I skipped past would have it for you.
Looked like a wonderful quote from Mother Teresa, which we didn't have time to read.
Yeah, I can read that to you. The greatest suffering is being lonely, feeling unloved, having no one. I've come more and more to realize that it is being unwanted that is the worst disease that any human being can ever experience. Here's information for Forth and Hope. You can go to our website at forthandhope.org. This is the main phone number for the shelter, but that also gets you connected to staff that can, and then this info at forthandhope.org, that's an email that goes directly to our development people. And and then you can also connect with us.
We're not seeing anything.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Vega. We're seeing happy faces.
Oh, here, I have to hit this other button. How about now?
Yeah, there we go.
All right. You know, after a year and a half, you'd think we'd have all this figured out. Here's our information for Forth and Hope. The website at the top there, the email info@forthandhope.org is a good email for connecting with our development team. And then also you can follow us on Facebook or Instagram. That phone number is the main number to the shelter, and you can reach our team there. Here was this quote that I read, if you'd like to see it. But yeah, I appreciate, and I don't want to take for granted our relationship, Forth and Hope, with the City of Woodland. I sincerely appreciate the partnership that, and I realize that we're all in this together. I'd have never really anticipated that we would be in a place where homelessness would be the way it is. But I'm happy to be a part of this community where we are all working to solve some of these issues for our neighbors and help them get back on some stable footing so they can move forward with their dreams in life. So I appreciate the opportunity to be a partner.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Zach. So, Mayor Pro Tem Fernandez, was that?
Yes, thank you. Sorry.
Right. Councilmember Garcia Cadena, I see your hand raised.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation. So my question is, now that you've transitioned to a 24-hour facility and I see that you have activities, are there specific activities that the community could, members of our community could volunteer to assist with? I see that you had a literacy program. are there opportunities for community members, and how would they go about finding out what those are?
Yeah, they can go to our website and look at the immediate needs that are there. Our volunteer coordinator, if people have own skills and talents and abilities that they would like to share with individuals that are staying at the shelter, they can email us, let us know these things, and our volunteer coordinator will connect with them and kind of get them set up so they can move forward. It's been hard to get some traction with volunteerism in this last year, because about the time we would start getting going, we'd have to shut it down again. And there's been times we have had to start and stop our volunteer program. One volunteer program that everybody is very aware of, and it is still continuing right now, is the ability to cook meals for those out at the shelter. And in order to accommodate during the pandemic, our volunteers not interacting with clients, we continue to use the commercial kitchen for our volunteers over at the old Mission. They prepare meals there, and then we transport the meals out to the shelter and serve them at that location. I do believe as the East Beamer Way campus further develops, there's going to be lots of opportunities to do volunteer projects out there, whether it be gardening, doing different outdoor activities with clients and those that are living in the community adjacent in the permanent supportive housing area as well. But our volunteer coordinator is the best route to go. You can email us again at the info@fourthandhope.org, or visit us on our website, or even keep an eye on us on social media. We'll put requests out on social media as needed as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other hand raised. All right. Pastor Zach, I have one question for you just around job placements. I think I saw a statistic floating around there, but can you share a little bit about some of the successes with job placement?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it, because one of my favorite stories to tell, and it's probably been about 4 months since I've talked to this individual. He entered into the shelter, and after being there for about a month and getting tired of hearing people say you need to go out and look for a job, and that's what he was hearing from the team there. But when he came in the first month, and he would confess to the fact he was just depressed, and he was having a hard time just even getting going every day. But with compassion that the team has and their encouragement that you need to get going, he finally said, okay, I'm going to go head out and do this. And he went out that day and applied to 6 different locations, got a call the next morning, and started his job the following day. I talked to another individual, and what's nice is these jobs are within walking distance of the current location. I talked to another individual. He had gotten a job at one of the adjacent businesses out there, making $21 an hour. And then so everything changed in his life. Yeah. Now that he had a full-time job making $21 an hour, he started to believe again that he could live independent in his own place. Then he engaged more on a healthy level with case managers, and they started working on the plan. Last I heard, he was slated to get into a place. I have not heard if that has come to fruition yet. But those are just 2 stories. There was a time in the middle of the summer where 2/3 of, so we have 60 min beds out there. And I want to say at the time about 37 to 40 men were at some level of employment at that time. And so you would potentially go out to the shelter and you'd see it somewhat empty during the daytime and wonder what's going on. Well, they're working. And so that's a great thing. And when you put in a good day's work and you go to bed tired at night, you feel good about yourself. And so that starts to change a lot for the people that we serve.
Oh, wonderful. Thanks for sharing that. Those stories are so important to share. And it's amazing that you can take an individual who finds him or herself in the situation and give them the confidence and supports they need to go out and get back on their feet. So that's wonderful. Thank you for that. And I see Mr. Coyle came out of retirement for us. What an honor.
I never really left, actually. Physically and emotionally, I'm still here.
Good, good. No, we like that. All right. So, Pastor Zach, is that all for your presentation for your part?
That's all I have. I'm here to support Friends of the Mission here now.
Okay.
Thank you, Doug. I get to
Yeah.
follow you with all the great things you've done. So, good evening. My name is Janet Ruggiero. I'm a member of the board of Friends of the Mission for several years. And on behalf of the board, I express our gratitude for our partnership with the city. I've just been asked to kind of go between Doug and Steve Coyle. So that's kind of my presentation, but I wanted just to let you know that in partnership with you, we've submitted our application for the home key on December 3rd for approximately $15 million for the 60 units to the permanent supportive housing and the community center. And we're hoping to shortly hear whether we've been funded or not. But we're supposed to get news either this month or early in February. So we're looking forward to that. We're also progressing on Walter's House, which is the drug treatment center, which increases beds to 60. We've recently completed the initial design with a local architect, and we're pursuing funding sources this month, beginning to try and get the funding we need on a $5 to $6 million project, get that built. So we are moving ahead. We're excited about this portion of the contract to get the foundations installed now. And Steve's going to talk more about what's going on in terms of the design and why parking is essential, both for the shelter and for the additional land we need to put the parking in for the 61 units. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. With anything, we've seen costs continue to rise, and we're hoping that Steve can talk more about where the units are and how they're under construction now. So I'd be happy to answer any questions the council may have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ruggiero. Any questions for Mr. Ruggiero? Oh, Councilmember Landsberg, were you saying something? You're on mute.
I was on mute. Hi, Janet. Good to see you
Hi.
again.
How are you?
Question. I'm really supportive of the expansion of Walter's House and what it stands for, and the programs that provide change in the new facility, if anything.
No, I would say that the programs will be very similar. We'll just increase the number, and the design will be much more significant than what we have presently, with the idea that there be more rooms for counseling, more activities, other things. We have a bigger site, so we're able to prepare to do that. So we're excited that we can move forward if we can get some funding to move forward to do that. And we'll work closely with Fourth and Hope with that program.
Thank you. And my other question is regarding the supportive housing units. Some time ago, we discussed at council level that these buildings were going to be built in Woodland and purchased in Woodland. Is that still the plan?
Yes, we have entered into a contract with Cutting Edge. They're located in Woodland, which we're excited about. The units, some of the initial units are under construction. And so we have proceeded to work with them. And I think Steve can talk more about that in terms of the phasing and the ability to go out and actually look at the construction of the units is quite exciting. So we're moving ahead.
Thank you, Janet.
You're welcome, Councilman Landsberg.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem Hernandez, I see your hand raised.
Thank you, Mayor Vega. And thank you, Janet, again, for your dedication. And Steve, I'll thank you now also for the work that you've been doing with the Friends of the Mission. And Janet, just want to double check. It's been a year, it's hard to believe, since we did a tour out there with Steve last year. Would it be possible to schedule another visit out there for council members who might be interested? I know last time Mayor Vega and myself had the opportunity to tour the facility.
Yeah.
I would think we could arrange that, Steve. Don't you think that's a strong possibility?
Sure. Of course, we have to charge them this time, Janet. You know that.
Okay. I think we've charged them enough already, but that.
No, I think a visit to the site plus to Cutting Edge, because it is a Woodland, it's a Woodland startup that's, this is the biggest project they've ever had. The factory's only a few miles away.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I think this is the future of construction, or a lot of construction. So I think it would be good to see both.
Thank you. Great question, Mayor Pro Tem Fernandez. And yeah, I'd love that. Definitely for me to go out there. It has been a year. So I would love to take you up on both of that. So we'll connect to get that scheduled. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Steve, did you have something else to cover?
I have a few slides that Brent was queuing up, so I can make it very brief, but it'll give you an overview of where we are now and where we're heading within the next 6 months.
Great.
I'm waiting for just Brent to put the first slides up. If not, I can share my screen.
Brent, are you sharing?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get there. There you go.
Thanks. Yeah. Thank you. So this is just the bird's eye that shows you where the 42 additional parking spaces are for the permanent supportive housing to the north, and then the 20 spaces that we just recently added for staff and resident parking. And it's interesting because as Doug mentioned, well, because I did the plan, I underestimated the amount of cars that people have, but in particular staff, there's what I'm learning. I spend most of the time on the site or over Cutting Edge now, but I've learned that this is a real difficult and challenging effort on behalf of the staff, because these people, there's all kinds of people out there. Some people really rely on those services. And so that means more staff, and they need a place to park. And, we're not downtown, so we created the extra parking space very inexpensively. And we also recognized that we were going to need more parking for the permanent supportive. You can go to the next slide if you would, Brent. That we're going to need more parking for the residents because, again, they need cars. Doug mentioned how many people are working. There's a huge job demand, and I just mentioned cutting edge modular can't find enough people. So if anyone has any recommendations for people who would want to work on the line there, they really need people that are paying, I think they're starting at $18 an hour. So, these are good jobs. And I think the people that are going to graduate either from the shelter or from elsewhere into the permanent supportive housing, it'll be an opportunity for them, but they will probably have to drive to some of those jobs because not all of them are in walking distance. So where we are right now in the construction is, as the council approved Lister Construction's site infrastructure contract last year. Yeah, I think it was in early June or late May, and they started construction right around the beginning of July. Virtually all of the underground work, the water, the sewer, the power, the communications, the grading is done, and now they're doing the sidewalks and curbs, and then they'll do the streets. And as Brent mentioned, we took the contract for the foundations out of Cutting Edge because it would have been very difficult to have a completely site ready and then having to dig, holes for piers and put those in. So we elected to do that concurrently, and that work will start hopefully in a few weeks. Their pier foundations. And then the first units, which are already, we already have a couple of constructed, but the first units will go in probably it'll be in March, I'm hoping, maybe April, but that's, you know, they're building 61 units. So they're in production now. I have to say that the holdup has been, part of the the constraints have been just sourcing materials. It's very difficult to get certain materials, windows and siding. So that's part of the reason we're a little bit behind. And even some of the issues affected the site infrastructure, getting certain kinds of pipes. So, but we're back on track, and we hope to start putting in the units, like I said, sometime hopefully in March or early April, and then finish up probably in July. At the worst, I think would be August. And once we have those units done, have the stairs in, and then we'll be able to move people in. So it would be great for you to see these modular units. You know, they're very compact. They're only 12 feet wide, and they're duplexes. So it's a very efficient way to put these units in. You can see this, the site has always been very compact because we had to configure it to the floodplain. So it's moving forward, and we also intend, God willing, with the money from the state through Project Home Key, to actually be able to do this community center, which is important because it'll give people a gathering place. Because you don't want the residents having to go over to the shelter. They shouldn't be. That's private. So it'll be a place for them to gather, and we have a health component. We have in the little design we did, there's 2 offices where they can get some sort of medical treatment. So I think it's important that we can get the community center and the housing done as one complete complex. And yeah, so I'll just stop there. And then if there's any questions on the specifics of what we're doing and how we're doing it.
Okay, thank you, Steve. I appreciate that overview. Any questions, my colleagues?
I have a question for Steve.
All right, go ahead.
Hi, Steve. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you.
And thank you for all the work that you've done at the facilities. You've spent, I think, your last couple of years there for the most part. I do appreciate that. My question is this: assuming that this is a Home Key project funded project, will there be parameters as to who takes residence in these 61 units?
Yes, Janet may be able to speak to that, but there's a whole qualification and valuation system that takes place, and there'll actually be 3 different entities that are managing this. But I'll let, if Janet wants to speak to that, she's probably better equipped than I am. Janet?
Thank you, Steve. So we'll be working with the county, with Woodland Opportunity Village, and trying to legal services. So there's a whole group that have already started meeting to talk about who's eligible for these units, who would qualify, and focus on trying to house people that meet certain qualifications to be able to be here. We're also looking for Section 8, having use of Section 8 vouchers, which also has requirements with them that will also provide for rental assistance in housing the people that move into these units.
Thank you. I think to narrow my question a little bit further, the question I really have is, would this project, these units, be mostly for Woodland residents?
Well, I would say that it is hopefully, I'm not sure from the legal standpoint where I could say that could only be Woodland residents, because it is a county, we're using county monies through Section 8. And so therefore, they would have to meet certain qualifications as being homeless to live here to meet the requirements for permanent supportive housing. And we would try and focus on trying to house people that are in need, that are homeless within our region, within the Sacramento, within the Yolo County situation, if we can.
All right, I'm not sure I get the answer that I'm looking for, but I hear you. Thank you.
Yeah, there are legal requirements that we would have to meet.
Right. It's really the funders. The funders are really, it would be a constraint with regard to the funders. So
right.
we have,
So we would have to follow that to ensure we could use the vouchers as well as the requirements for the state and federal monies that we are getting.
All right.
I understand your question,
right,
Councilmember Landsberg, but there is going to be a focus versus a requirement. How would that, in terms of what we would like to do?
I can live with that for now, but I'm sure more to come in the future, right?
Right, yes, hopefully.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Sellard, I see your hand raised.
Thank you, Mayor Vega. We can probably go back to a gallery view now, if we could. I would like to say that there are very few communities which have really dug in on this issue like Woodland. And I'm very proud of our community for not avoiding the challenges faced by homelessness, but by embracing solutions that will make a difference. Doug, it was wonderful to hear those examples. I mean, every life redeemed is a life redeemed. It's incalculable, the value to that person and to society. We need them all. I hope some of the workers for that house building operation come right out of our own shelter. I think that would be wonderful. And having observed the continuum of this situation, the arc over decades, I think we are in a better place now than we've been in recent years. We are not without challenges on the streets of our downtown and some of our communities, but I think the problem is much reduced and the impacts also reduced. And so this is good for everybody, but it's a responsible way to deal with it. So I'm so pleased. And the fact is this is a magnificent collaboration. We have state money, we have county money, we have city money, we have Dignity Health contribution. I think Sierra has some money in it. I mean, literally everybody has come to the table and done what they can. And the Woodland Tree Foundation planted trees out there. And Steve, you brought your architectural training to the table and shared it. It's just a wonderful, wonderful demonstration of solid community commitment. So I just can't be grateful enough. Thanks to everyone.
Tom, I have to give a
you too,
shout out.
Janet. You never stop giving.
I have to give a shout out to fire, to police, and to public works, because it's been we've made it very difficult. Seriously, well, not personally, but we've made it difficult for all three departments, and they have risen to the occasion. Just public works having to deal with the entry and all of the issues. Really, I can't think of anyone from public works or police or fire, Emily, who hasn't really been just exemplar in terms of their service. So I just wanted to say how grateful we are to the city and stepping up for their help when we made life difficult for them, I'm sure. So.
Okay. Well, thank you, Steve. This is definitely, Councilmember Sellard highlighted, it's been a community effort and a labor of love, right? We all come together to make this happen. So I know we asked questions along the way, but are there any other topics from your presentation? No? Jan at all? All right. So Madam Clerk, is there any public comment that was received on this topic?
No public comment.
Okay. No hands raised?
Only Tom Stollard.
All right. Okay, so if there's no further discussion, I think we're
Myra, I did forget to mention the faith community. They are the ones that founded Forth and Hope and nursed it right through the years, and they still continue to show up to serve the meals, cook the meals, help cook the meals, and other things. So bless our faith community for their faithfulness in this whole endeavor.
Thank you for adding that. Thank you. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, before we dispense with this last item, there is an action requested before the council. So if we can entertain a motion from the council in support of the resolution before you, that'd be great.
Councilmember Fernandez.
All right. So I hear a motion from Mayor Pro Tem Fernandez. There's a second. All right. Second from Councilmember Stollard. All right. So Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Yes, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Fernandez.
Aye.
Councilmember Garcia Cadena.
Aye.
Councilmember Landsberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Stallard.
Aye.
Mayor Vega.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 5-0.
Fantastic. Okay, so I think that takes us to our last item, which is adjournment. But again, Pastor Zach, Janet, and Steve, thank you so much. Thank you. All right, so are there any memorial adjournments that colleagues have, or not seeing any? Okay, fantastic. So I think we can adjourn. Have a good evening, everybody. Happy New Year.
Thank you, everybody.
In a couple of weeks.
Happy New Year. Bye.